White grubs are the most important of the turfgrass insects, and there are several white grubs that are important in this part of the region. The larval stage is the damaging stage, the white grub stage, and these are three different species of white grubs. Again, the general appearance is quite similar for all of them. The adults are going to be some sort of scarab beetle, and the primary ones we have in Colorado are illustrated here. There's 4 turf damaging species, and the one in the middle is kind of one that we rarely see in turf, but it does occur, but also will damage adjacent woody plants, sometimes feeds on shrubs, the 10-line June beetle. We'll talk about all of these in terms of their biology during this little section here. The most common ones in terms of turf damage are the 4 listed here. May-June beetles in the genus Phylophaga, the chafers, the mass chafers in the genus Cyclocephala, the Japanese beetle, and the black turfgrass Ataneus. Now again, all of these in the larval stage generally look similar. They are a white grub with that C-shape at rest, the prominent legs, and a distinctive head. It may be useful to identify which kind of grub you have, and there is a key for doing this. If you are interested in learning which kind of grub you have, and this can be important in terms of timing treatments appropriately, the feature you look for is what's called the rostral pattern. So to separate the different kinds of white grubs, the rostral pattern is used, and the rostral pattern is the pattern of hairs that occur on the hind end of the white grub. So each of these has a different set of patterns of hairs and bristles and slits that are on the hind end, and that would be the rostral pattern. Now, one place you can see the different kinds of rostral patterns would be the Turfgrass publication that Colorado State has, the Turfgrass insects in Colorado and northern New Mexico. It is also featured in some of the fact sheets as well. So, let's go through the individual kinds of white grubs we have. In the eastern plains, a very common native group of white grubs are May-June beetles. There's several species that are found in this area. A few of them are damaging turfgrass. Others are found in more natural settings and not found in lawns. These are fairly large beetles. They're generally kind of a brown or a reddish-brown color. And you will not usually notice them because they're night active. They will feed on foliage of trees and various kinds. Some of them feed on conifers, some of them feed on broadleaf plants. Do little damage, except under extraordinary conditions. You wouldn't even notice that the adults have been active. But at night, they fly about, they mate, they feed, they lay eggs, and the eggs will be laid in soil, as is the habit of all these white grubs. Now, one of the things that is a little bit different from the other kinds of grubs, the May-June beetles have a very long life cycle, and it probably extends over 3 years to be completed. So what we'll see is the adults will be out 1 year, laying their eggs in May, June, typically, and these will produce young larvae in that first year. And then the larvae will feed for a while, and then when it gets cool, they'll go down below frost line, remain dormant through the winter, resume feeding the second year, feed throughout the growing season, again move down when it gets too cold, finish their life cycle in the third year, move down, pupate, and transform to the adult stage, ready for emergence the following spring. In some areas, these are fairly synchronized, so every third year might be a big year where you see a bunch of May-June beetles out and about at night, banging on the porch screens perhaps, and then it will be this year after a big flight when you will see peak damage. So peak damage occurs the year after the eggs are laid with this one. So this is a little bit different. One thing that may tip you off that you have a situation with this type of white grub is that you'll see quite a bit of variation in terms of larval size. You might see fairly small larvae next to quite large larvae. And again, this is because this is an insect that has a life cycle that extends over multiple years. So some might be in the second year and some might be in the third year. But again, there is a rostral pattern feature that is distinctive for this genus of white grubs that you might find in lawns. Now there is just one that needs perhaps a little bit of attention, and that is actually the largest kind of white grub you might ever find in a lawn, as well as some other sites, and that's the 10-line June beetle, as well as other relatives in the genus Polyphylla. These are our biggest scarab beetles in this part of the world. They have fairly generalized feeding habits. They're not just restricted to turfgrass sites. We do sometimes see them damaging adjacent vegetation or vegetation in an area that's not a site that is a turfgrass site. In this case, we're seeing some conifer trees that have had the roots damaged by one of the larvae of one of these. So there is this kind of odd group of white grubs that we have. Sometimes you find them in turfgrass, sometimes in some other sites. The Polyphylla species that are represented perhaps best by the 10-line June beetle. But moving back to those that are strictly found in association with turfgrass, the masked chafers of the genus Cyclocephala are an important group throughout much of the United States. In this part of the world, the western masked chafer, Cyclocephala hirta, is probably the most dominant. And this would be a picture of the larva and the pupa that would be in the soil. Now, unlike the May-June beetles, these are an annual white grub, meaning they have a life cycle that is completed in a single year. So if you can wrap your head around this little chart here, where it's going from January to December on the top, and what you see is the overwintering stage will be larvae. They will all become pupae sometime in late spring, very early summer, then become adults that will then lay eggs, and then be feeding towards the end of the year. 1 year life cycle, annual life cycle with these species. So here we have a chafer laying eggs in the soil. They're very specific about where they're going to lay the eggs. It has to be just right. In dry years, where a lot of the grass does not have a lot of moisture, they will concentrate their egg laying in those sites where that are getting more heavily irrigated, kind of an oasis effect. The eggs will hatch, produce a little larva that feeds, then transforms to a second, and then ultimately a third stage larva. In terms of size, they're moderate size. These would be full-grown grubs of this genus, and in populations exceeding perhaps 12, 15 per square foot, you will often see visible turf damage. Of course, to some degree, the turf can tolerate some root pruning by regrowing, or having a surplus root system that can tolerate the effects of some pruning, but at some point it becomes too much, and you start to see symptoms in terms of wilting and perhaps ultimately, if it extends, dieback. Peak damage of these is August, early September, so it's going to be as these rapidly develop towards the end of the summer and early autumn when you will see most damage by a chafer, a masked chafer type of grub. And they, of course, like all of these, have a distinctive rostral pattern of hairs, a little slit, kind of looks like a frowny face to me, the anal slit, and these little stout hairs. Now, the newest of the white grubs that have entered some areas of the western U.S. is the Japanese beetle. This is a non-native species introduced into North America in the around 1917 into the New Jersey area, rapidly spread after that point, but kind of stalled about at the Mississippi River. However, in the past couple of decades, it has extended its range into pockets into western North America, including parts of Colorado. Now, this is an insect that is a little bit different from the others in that it is important in both the adult and the larval stages. The adults chew leaves, they also chew flowers, and unlike some of the other kinds of white grub, where the adult stage produces some chewing that you wouldn't notice, Japanese beetles can produce chewing that is very noticeable. They're out about in the daytime, feeding on very many commonly grown plants, and can be quite destructive. But the larvae are also destructive on their own right in a different way, and they are among the most damaging turfgrass insects in the United States. For the northeast quadrant of the United States, they're usually the most important of the damaging turfgrass grubs. And as this insect has extended its range, it is monitored. There are some excellent traps that can detect the presence of Japanese beetle in an area. So this insect is extending its way through, again, many of the western states at this point in time. And if the question is Japanese beetle present yet in a site, these traps are excellent at making that determination. They're quite active, quite attractive at picking up adults. Again, this is a trap that would be used for monitoring, not for control. Essentially involves a yellow vein that goes into a funnel where there's a collecting canister at the bottom, and there is a lure that is largely a floral-based lure that's highly attractive to the species. Again, the life cycle of Japanese beetle is typical in the broad sense of all those other kinds of white grubs, with eggs, 3 larval stages, a pupal stage, and ultimate adult. And like the previous one we just discussed, the masked chafers, they have an annual life cycle. So it's going to be completed in a single year with a new generation produced each year. The overwintering stage being larvae, the adults in this case coming out June, July, fairly similar to when we might see the masked chafers coming out, laying eggs in specific kinds of sites, and peak damage occurring in late summer and into September. So the eggs are going to be laid in the soil by the adults in small groups, and then they'll go out and feed and then lay some more eggs. One thing that has been limiting to Japanese beetle, probably has retarded its movement into some of the more arid areas of the country, is that this is a species that is more sensitive to drying than are the other ones we've just discussed. The first stage larva and the eggs, if the soil around them dries, they are usually going to be killed. And in areas where we have intermittent moisture, the insects often do poorly. Conversely, if there's regular moisture, we have nice moisture during the growing season or intensive irrigation, they will survive quite well. And like all, they have their own little rostral pattern identifier. The final kind of white grub that needs a little bit of discussion is one that is pretty much just associated with turfgrass settings, and even there it's mostly associated with annual bluegrass. The black turfgrass Atanius, kind of an odd name, but it relates to the genus of this species, Atanius spretulus, is a very tiny white grub, and it is largely feeding on organic matter, not plant roots, but does in addition feed on plant roots. It is by far the smallest of the turf damaging white grubs, and it is particularly an issue in golf courses, high managed golf courses, highly intensely managed turfgrass, and again, most of the damage is done to annual bluegrass. But this can be quite abundant at times. The adults will come out at dusk. You might see these small black beetles flying all about, and it has 2 generations a year. So you're going to have a first generation of adult flight coming out sometime, often after about peak lilac bloom of common lilac, and then you'll have a second flight of the adults in midsummer. And as always, there is a rostral pattern that's associated with this group, and they're a little different. Black Turfgrass Atanius, again, is mostly an issue on golf courses, and it is also quite erratic. There are naturally occurring biological controls of this, a certain kind of milky spore bacterium, not to be confused with the one used for Japanese beetle, but a naturally occurring milky spore bacterium is often quite common and will usually bring around an outbreak on its own in fairly short order. Milky spore, by the way, is a bacterial infection that causes the blood of the infected white grubs to become milky, so they're going to be much more chalky colored. Anyway, This is a fairly modestly important species, although it can be quite abundant. It takes a very large number to cause turf injury, perhaps closer to 80 to 100 per square foot instead of 10 to 15. But is part of the complex of the white grubs you will find feeding on turfgrass roots in this part of the country. So that's it for the kind of grubs we have, and the next thing I wish to cover is how we might manage these.